the end of the session for the International Symposium on Non-Communicable Disease. I would like to invite all the poster presenters to sit in the front row. The first is actually Bu Fatwasari Tetra Dewi. And then the second, I would like to invite Bu Supriyati, Ibu Yulia Fauziah, Ibu or Mbak. The third presenter, Yulia Fauziah. Yulia? Yeah, can you please sit at the front row, please? And then the fourth is Dedi Setiawan. Because we will have only 5 minutes for each presenter, there will be no time to call if you are not ready at the front row. So the fourth is Dedi Setiawan. Is he here? Five presenter will be Anissa Nurrahmawati. Yeah. And then the sixth presenter, Marlita Putri Ekasari. So the and then yeah, Martonis will be the seventh, and in my list I have only 8. Yeah, Yulia Marwati. So Dedi Setiawan, is he here? Still have lunch? Okay, I think we should start now. Just for your information, we will have 4 winners for this poster presentation. For the all poster presentation, the very generous organizing committee gave us 4 winners. Yes, but Bu Fatwa and Bu Supri will not be included, so don't worry, they will not be the winner. Okay, I think we should start now. I invite Bu Fatwasari to do the 5-minute presentation, and then after that we will ask for the audience to respond at the end of the poster presentation. Please, Bu Fatwa.
Thank you for the time and the opportunity. I'm sorry, I need to stand here again. I really hope you are not boring. The good thing is I'm out of the scoring, so that's fine. This afternoon, I'm going to present about maintaining balance and harmony, Japanese perception of health and cardiovascular disease. This is a qualitative study that we did before we do the ProRiva intervention. So we collect what the local people want, and we try to understand their beliefs using this study. In the lobby, you can read the abstract if you want to. It is very small, but you can read if you like. And I'm sorry, the letter is too small. I just realized now. The aim is to what is it? The aim is to understand people's perspective on cardiovascular disease and from in urban setting in Yogyakarta city. And the methods is a qualitative study. We are having data collection using focus group discussion and also in-depth interview. There are lay people and also community leader and also health providers who invited for the focus group discussion and also in-depth interviews. And the result shows that This is almost difficult to read now. This is not a good poster example, actually. I'm sorry for that. I mean, people, when they consider about cardiovascular disease, some people from low socioeconomic, they say that heart disease is very dangerous. They say heart disease is dangerous. And it is also people from high socioeconomic, they say that heart disease is dangerous and they can relate with the risk factors. This is not the case when we ask with the low SES people. They do not understand that cardiovascular disease like heart disease and stroke has relationship with smoking, for example. They say that smoking is okay. That's the only fun things that I can do. I have not so much money. What else that I can do to have fun? Yeah, more or less like that. Thank you. Suddenly. Okay, and about the ideas of prevention, it is different between men and women. Among men, they say that they have no time for health. Well, I'm healthy now. Why should I bother about disease? Why should I bother about health disease, for example? And for women, they are considered as the caretakers for health. So, by thinking about the way people thinking, we need to consider women as the, what we call it, as channel. In health promotion, we need a channel to reach a family. And for the community organizing, how we should work with the community, it differs between high and low SES. People from high SES, they would prefer to have individual activity. And from low SES, they would prefer have collective activity. They consider that their community leader in low SES, they are the symbol of their community. Then they do not have a significant function. While people from high SES, community leader is the role model and they have dominant action. Thank you. Can you move a little bit downward? I think that is the main thing that we grasp from the community, and the conclusion is that if we want to insert healthy ideas in among the lay people, we need to insert that in their daily activities. So we need to think about what is their daily activities, and we can insert the health promotion in that way. And the patterns of social action differ according to which SES the people belongs. And health promotion program should be tailored according to the SES background and gender roles of the target population. I think
1 minute left.
Enough.
You still have 1 minute if you want to talk more.
No. For to those who are interested to have this information, this is already published and you can access it in this. Yeah, this is the title in the Global Health Action Journal. You can have access. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bu Fatwa. So this poster is actually already published in the journal, yeah? Yeah. Thank you very much. I would like to invite Bu Supri for this. Okay.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yeah, I'm Supriyati from Public Health Department, Faculty of Medicine, Gadjah Mada University. And today I would like to share my research on the role of local leader on secondhand smoke in Yogyakarta. My previous research results show that 74% of children under 7 years old already exposed to secondhand smoke every day, which is the exposure as secondhand smoke is happen mostly in their own home and the neighborhood. In fact, most of their parents didn't agree with this exposure. Unfortunately, that they don't have power to protect their children from the secondhand smoke exposure. And we already know that in Indonesia, it is hard for us, it is very difficult for us to convince our government to issue the strict regulation on second-hand smoke protection or the tobacco control. So the other way is that we go to the community empowerment. So in Indonesia, so many people, tobacco control activists that doing some community empowerment intervention for tobacco control. And one of them is smoke-free home. In my research, then we identify the role of the local leader on the second-hand smoke protection, which named Smoke-Free Home. This Smoke-Free Home conduct in Yogyakarta City, which supported by Quit Tobacco Indonesia, Faculty of Medicine, also Health Office of Yogyakarta. And the results show that, in this research we considered, which is the community empowerment is done by community-oriented approach or health provider-oriented. And according to this result, we show that only 4 out of the 16 hamlet, which is the location of the smoke-free home, that conduct the community intervention by using community-oriented approach. But it was very surprising me when we saw that community participation is very high. 88% community or 88% of our respondents already participated in smoke-free home. And then we can show here the model of the smoke-free home. Yeah. Here is the sample of the smoke-free home at Pringgan, and we can see here that the smoke-free home it seems like a community deal or community agreement, which is community not allowed to smoke inside their home or close to the non-smoker one or maybe pregnant women or children. Include not allowed to smoke in community meeting. And this is the number of the role, the local leader, which is give the good role. There's this is on also 86% of the local leader already the good role for the community. That's why here we can conclude that the local leader give very important support for the community to protect people from the second-hand smoke exposure. And we suggest that for all of the health promotion activists or maybe health education or maybe health officer to involve the community leader for every single health activity at the community level. Okay, that's all. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Yes. Thank you, Bu Supri. Actually, you still have 1 minute left, but it's okay. Thank you very much. We will give your time to other presenter. The third is Yulia Fauzia. Please.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Yulia Fauzia from doctoral student of Medical Faculty Gadjah Mada University. I want to share my research with the title is Effect of Physical Exercise to Decrease Cholesterol Level in Patients with Diabetes Mellitus Type 2 in Cirebon. Evi Nurjana and Ika Fitriana is my team from Nursing Science Program Mahardika College. Diabetes mellitus is a disorder of metabolic disorder with characterized by hyperglycemia. And we know that from yesterday we know that diabetes mellitus is a non-communicable disease and prevalence of diabetes mellitus tends to increase in every years. In the world, people estimate diabetes mellitus amount of 171 million, and this is not different with Indonesia. Indonesia also tends to increase with from risk deaths. Diabetes mellitus includes 7 highest disease with 6th position, and based on the Ministry of Health, in city prevalence of diabetes mellitus 5.7% and 77% is undiagnosed. Elevated cholesterol is one of complication of diabetes mellitus. Increased cholesterol level caused by the body inability to synthesize glucose into energy, so that the energy created from synthesis of lipid. And this is abnormal metabolism, because from abnormal metabolism of lipid can produce cholesterol. And exercise is one alternative in repairing of consequence of diabetes mellitus. We know that from many research prove that exercise can reduce glucose. In addition, exercise also plays a role in maintaining cholesterol balance. The aim of this research is to determine the effect of physical exercise on decreased cholesterol level in patient diabetes mellitus. Method of this research use a quantitative approach with one group pre-test and post-test design. Sample among 22 people with total sampling in Cirebon district, and exercise performed 3 times for a week. 3 times a week for 4 weeks, with duration 30 minutes, and cholesterol checks after and before exercise, so that I use parity test for analyze data. The results show that before exercise we get a cholesterol level is 261, and after exercise we get the cholesterol level is 224. There is a decrease before exercise and after exercise, and with the data analyzed, we can get p-value is 0.0, and from p-value we know that hypothesis from this research is accepted, and from this research approved that physical exercise in influence on decreased cholesterol level in patient diabetes mellitus type 2.
I think you have 1 minute still, if you want to talk more about that. If no, it's okay. Is it ongoing research or
Finish.
It's already finished with 22 subjects.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you, Bu Yulia.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you very much, Bu Yulia. The 4th presenter will be Dedi Setiawan. Please, Pak Dedi. Yeah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everybody. Okay. First of all, let me introduce myself. I am Dedi Setiawan, student of Health Behavior and Promotion in a Master of Public Health program in Gadjah Mada University. Okay. In this chance, I'd like to present to you my poster about the barrier factor in implement diabetes management in community. If Ibu Fauziah tell to you about how the effect of physical activity to decrease of the cholesterol in patient of diabetes. Here I will talk to you about the barrier factor in implement diabetes management in community. As we know that diabetes is one of non-communicable disease that related to lifestyle. This study I've done in Yogyakarta, especially at Banyuraden Gamping. Do you know the place Gamping? At the Puskesmas Gamping, exactly. The proportion of mortality rate caused by diabetes in urban life are 14.7%, and in the rural life are 5.8%. I get the data from the Riskesdas 2007. In Yogyakarta province, Daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta, I mean, in 2011 there are 5,730 person of diabetics. I think that is so high sufferer of diabetics. As we know that there are 4 pillar management how to decrease the risk factor to be to be complication of diabetes. The first one is health promotion or education, and the second how to do dietary planning, and the third have talked by Ibu Fauzia about physical activity, and the last curative treatment. Nah, in the aim of my study here to report the barrier of the diabetics in implement diabetic management, especially in the Banyuraden community. We use here the method qualitative approach. We use 3 methods of collecting data by focus group discussion, the in-depth interview, and observation. In focus group discussion, here we take 2 group of consist 8 person, the men and women, and then in in-depth interview we take the sample 5 person from the diabetics and also from the family, and we also do observation. Okay, the result. Please scroll down, sir, for the result. In generally, the result of our study, there are 2 factors that as a barrier factor in implementing diabetic management: internal factor and external factor. In internal factor, there are demographic characteristics like their education, then their age, and then knowledge, perception, and curative orientation. And the external factor, there are a family role, treatment, and environment. Okay, let's we talk more about the internal factor. Here the knowledge. This is the quotation of our study about the knowledge. They just know diabetics is a genetic disease. So they don't think that diabetics can be controlled, can be minimized, the risk factor to be complicated. They believe that. And then for the perspective, I mean, for the perception of the diabetics, they have belief that in Java we call that nasi wadang. They believe that nasi wadang or the yesterday rice contains less sugar, so they do the mistake in dietary planning, I think. And then they also have a curative orientation. They don't need to. They more interest in curative than prevention. Okay, and then a family role. In my quotation, my food same with other. There is no differentiation. So here the family don't do their role to as a facilitator to help diabetics in manage their dietary planning. And then the treatment. This is the most important, I think. They believe that drink a bitter beverage can decrease their blood sugar. And also they add an egg. As we know that an egg contain high cholesterol, I think. If consumed by the diabetics, it can increase the risk factor of diabetics. And then the social cultural environment in Java,
Excuse
we know
me,
that.
your time is up,
Okay,
but
thank
I
you.
will give you 1 minute.
Okay, thank you. And then my recommendation here, the first of all, we need to increase our education, improve our health promotion, and then do a community empowerment, which make a group of diabetics to facilitate to do their management in diabetics. And then the third, do a policy advocacy. We do a partnership with other departments to make some policy to support the diabetics to do their diabetic management. Hopefully, it can give us a benefit, and we can commit to give more attention to non-communicable disease. I think that's all. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Pak Dedi. So, having a bitter beverage will decrease your your sugar level. Okay. The fifth presenter is Anissa Nurrahmawati. Please, yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Anissa Nurrahmawati from Public Health Faculty, Mula Warman University, Samarinda, East Kalimantan. Okay. This is not about the research, but it's a kind of policy idea. I want to talk about maternal mortality. As we know, maternal mortality is widely problem with great disparity between developed and developing countries. And the maternal mortality, the leading cause of maternal mortality is complication related to pregnancy and childbirth. And as in many developing countries, it happens outside the health facility because the community preventive of traditional birth attendant. As we know, in Indonesia, we have many names of traditional birth attendants from Paraji, Dukun Beranak, Bidan Kampung, and namely you can, namely according to our Indonesian culture. So that's the problem. The government have been launched the partnership between TBA and skilled birth attendants, but the implementation and the utility of the program is still low and vary among provinces. So I propose a policy idea that the partnership that already been launched could be strengthened to reduce the pregnancy and childbirth complication. And we start from upstream. That's the government responsibility to strengthen the partnership, such as mapping the traditional birth attendant and skilled birth attendants in particular area in order to define the partnership. So the midwife in one area could notify which traditional birth attendant has working in that area, and then could be have a good plan together to strengthen the partnership. And the local government should have financial support for the partnership program. And the central government responsibility is make some health and family voucher. I know the government already have jam persal or jaminan persalinan or delivery assurance. But the jam persal only cover the cost is about antenatal care and the delivery. But the evaluation of jam persal show that the problem is not the cost. The cost burden is not about ANC cost or delivery cost. It's also about transportation due to geographical burden that Indonesians face, especially in rural area. So I propose an idea, health and family voucher that given to eligible pregnant women which cover ANC to immunization and family planning also, and also the immunization about the newborn. But if the mother didn't deliver in health facilities, the voucher cancelled. The local government also should improving referral system and providing culturally specific delivery care. And at the midstream, there also an effort to train traditional birth attendant to distribute the health voucher that policy and iron supplementation on pregnant women, training traditional birth attendants to detect pregnancy danger signs and delays, train skilled birth attendants to understand local culture, since the community preferences to TBA due to cultural reason. So we need to train skilled birth attendant or midwife to understand local culture, so they could provide culturally specific delivery care. And don't
excuse me, you have only 1 minute left.
Okay. I will use wisely.
Yeah.
Thank you. And the last is downstream. I think a free pregnant mother should have delivery planning book. Okay, that's all my idea. Thank you for attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi.
Thank you very much. So this is policy idea, yeah. The sixth presenter will be Marlita Putri Ekasari, please.
Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
My name is Marlita Putri Ekasari. You can call me Lita. I'm from International Health Program, School of Public Health, Gadjah Mada University. I'm come from Bantul, so that's why I talk maybe a little bit Jawanese. Okay. So, my poster title is Pharmacist's Role in Vision Loss Prevention Caused by Diabetic Retinopathy. So why I choose this? Because first of all, I'm a pharmacist, and then the second, I have a patient. My patient is in vulnerable group, especially in disability. So that's why vision loss is one of my part or my concern. Okay, you can see the background in the left side. Diabetes is a chronic illness that requires a combination of pharmacological and non-pharmacological measures for better control. So, from several experts that present about the diabetes, so you can see the number is really huge. If we want to see, if you look at the map, if you look at the map, Indonesia is the 4th from top 10 countries prevalence of diabetes in the world. So you can imagine how high the risk factor, how high the risk to get complications. Diabetic retinopathy is the part of diabetic complication. You can see that the percentage is around, the probability, the percentage to get diabetic retinopathy is about 75%. Please. Yep. Okay. So from SDH perspective or social determinant of health perspective, we have to build strong collaborations between community and also healthcare provider. The healthcare provider consists of doctor, nurse, and also pharmacist. So that's why I choose, in this poster, I focus on pharmacist role, the part of healthcare provider, to know this provision's roles to reduce the diabetes case and also the complication, especially in this case, diabetic retinopathy. So in this, you can see the so you can see the role of pharmacist. Maybe it's not really clear in here. Counseling is very important. Yes, you can see. no. But I explain the second paragraph. So the counseling is really important for the pharmacist to reduce, that HbA1c from diabetes, and this is, I see these journals compared to Ethiopia and India, that pharmacists, especially community pharmacists, significantly reduce the number of diabetes case, and you can check it. So the conclusion is, the pharmacy can play important role to reduce the number of diabetic retinopathy. The three main strategies are, first, identifying individuals at risk for developing diabetic retinopathy and encouraging the medication adherence. You can control the glucose and then blood pressures and also cholesterol levels of the patients. And then the second is educating patient about diabetic retinopathy. So the education point, it could be, first, we can suggest the importance of regular diet and exercise. And the second, keeping regular eye appointments. And the last one, communication. Why? Because pharmacist is not the only one in the healthcare provider in the healthcare system. We have to communicate with other healthcare provider. So the communication related to this complication, diabetic retinopathy, is having relation with ophthalmologists, reviewing patients diagnosed with vision problems or other conditions for treatment.
Is it? Yeah, I think this is the main point. Yeah, now.
Okay. Continuing care to the ophthalmologist. So that's my presentation. If you need more to discuss about this, don't hesitate to contact me at email.
Yes. Thank you very much.
And then thank you very much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you very much. You have 7 minutes actually. Yeah. Okay, but I would like to call Martunis. Yeah. So yes.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Martunis, as you can see, and I'm Indonesian. You saw okay, some of you already seen my poster, and I don't think that's a really good poster, even though the purpose of poster to spread the information, and I do it on my own way. And the committee said, if you don't present that, you won't get any mark. It's okay, I don't mind, because I know my poster is already so bad, and I will not get it. Okay. Okay, this is about pasung. Yeah, I think pasung is Indonesian word for those who have mental problem and they restrain or they chain it, they put it in the jail or whatever by the community. You will see the pictures later, or some of you have already seen it. I don't have to explain it into the Indonesian, I believe. Okay, why Pasung? Actually, I can talk about I can talk about a lot of other topic in mental health, but 2 days ago, Pak Mubayasir asked me to give Mubasir, but it's written Mubayasir. Oh, it's okay, Mubasir. Yeah, okay. Pak Mubasir asked me to give a case where the upstream policy worked to the downstream, and I was thinking for this. Yeah, so it's not working. Oh. Why not? Okay, this one. Okay, this is my titles. So, where is that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see here, is it possible to release a psychiatric patient from Pasung? What do you think? It's possible to release them. They have been there for years, and you come there as health worker, health promoter, or whatever. You work in Puskesmas, for instance, and you come there and you release it. Is that possible? What do you think? Huh? No? Okay. No, yes. You'll find the answer after my presentation. Okay, this is some pictures that you have seen, but okay, I don't want to talk about this. It's very bad. Next, but before going to further, this is what I asked before. Can we release the PWME is people with mental illness. So that's don't say crazy people, because they are not crazy. They just have mental problem, just like me. Okay? Come on, don't be surprised. 1 out of 4 have mental problem. And how many people we have here? Yeah? Don't say that. Don't laugh. Just because you don't know that you don't have it, you have it. Okay? So, apa bisa orang dengan gangguan jiwa orang dengan gangguan jiwa bisa dilepas dari Pasung? I think some of you say yes, but some also not. But let's see next question. If you want, you can raise your hand, but if not, you don't have to. Because I usually ask this for my students. How many of you believe that mental illness is treatable? Ada yang percaya nggak misalnya gangguan jiwa itu bisa disembuhkan? So few of you. Good, but still like less than 20%, I believe. Okay? And then, how many of you believe that mental illness is preventable? Okay, that's good. Thank you, sir. We can prevent suicide. Okay? There is a lot of study which says suicide is preventable. And there is also a lot of study which says that depression is treatable. Okay? So you can ask Mr. Google about that. And next question. Do you know this sentence? Right? Anyone know this sentence? For those who don't know, this is the basic law of Indonesia. Keadilan sosial bagi seluruh rakyat Indonesia. Everyone know this. But is this justice? Yeah? See her legs here were chained for years. Is that justice? Is this Indonesian what we are very proud of? And is that justice? I let you think and give your comment later on. Yeah, and this is happened in Indonesia, everywhere. Yeah, and we have like 30,000 people like this. Who care? Again, 30,000. And it's not only in Indonesia, in India also. Okay? You have that case, right? Yes, you have that. They have in Filipina. They have in Pakistan. In fact, in Pakistan, they put these people as part of treatment. They have a lot in Africa, but no one cares. Why? Just because they have mental problem and they cannot fight. They cannot ask for Mr. Bill Gates to please give us money so the people can treat us like those who have HIV.
Martunis, can you give us your proposal for this so that I will give you 2 minutes for the proposal. Yeah.
I can give okay, 2 minutes. Yes, I will go.
What is the upstream policy and
okay, you will find after this.
Yeah.
Okay, this is all the samples where you can find a lot of case. I don't want to explain one by one, but this is our patient, some I took her. And this is the publication that we have done. You can find some of the issue on this case. This is the governor, and this was upstream. So he was the one who released the patient. Okay, and that's why it became very famous in Aceh. In the middle, there's a governor. And that was my friend, and he has he needs almost 1 hour to cut the chain. And it's also the governor. That's upstream what I mean. And besides releasing himself, he also released a decree, governor decree, keputusan gubernur, I don't know what to say in English, which ensure that all the people with mental illness have access to healthcare. And this is the message. We can release them. And we must give them freedom. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you very much, Martunis. The last presenter, last but not least, Yulia Marwati. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yuli Marwati. Okay.
Thank you for the time. I will use less than 5 minutes because mine is taken by Martunis, I think.
No, I still will give you more time.
Thank you, ma'am. This one of our study in West Java around a year ago. We conduct a mixed study, but with quantitative methods. We use the World Bank data around 1,000 and 300, and we find that, please scroll down, a little bit down. We find that 63% of birds in West Java is home birds. And this is let's try. No policy regarding to this in Indonesia, and the fact that home birds still high in West Java, where it's considered as in Java Island still, near with the health facilities. And we found that the maternal mortality in West Java is the number 3 or 5 out of 33 provinces in Indonesia. This makes us want to conduct more research with qualitative study. We have about 20 samples, and we ask them why they prefer home birth instead of delivery in healthcare facilities. Yes, they have Jamkesmas, they have Jampersal, and the health facilities also there, but there are what we call as the social determinant of delivery, because it's not only a health sector that will affect the outcome, but also the social conditions that influence how people choose which place they will have delivery. In this case, we can see the picture. Please scroll down. Good. The ambulance is there, but it's not work. And the street is bad, so a lot of mothers are afraid that they will have delivery in the way before they reach healthcare facilities. So our main message with our poster is that we need to address more than health sectors to make health in all aspects of life. And our recommendation is, please call up. Please slowly breathe. Build infrastructures, roads in highly area, trek through villages, because they may have health cards and health facility. If we see in the map, maybe it look like so close, but actually the street is like this. Then it will need about 3 or 2 hours to reach the healthcare facilities. And government should address the public transportation through villages, not only in big cities. And primary health center need to be available more close to the citizens or users. And yes, Jampersal is for pregnant women, but we found in the field that not all pregnant women have it. So we recommend that insurance for all pregnant women, not only for delivery, but also that cost that related to pregnancy and delivery. Thank you. I think that's all.
Thank you very much, Yuli. Yeah. You have from time, yeah, 5 minutes. Okay, we have 8 presenters, which actually very, very nice and very inspiring program or research. Yeah, I would like to call the questions or comments from the audience. I think we will have at 3 first for the first time 3 person. Yeah, please introduce yourself and give us only the short question or comments, and then to whom is your question addressed to? Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Joseph. I will ask to Mrs. Julia Marwati. There we can see that there is a place in West Java, the most dense people in Indonesia, I think. In the Java Island, there are still locations that 3 hours away from a puskesmas. How can it happen in Java? I am born in Malang. I spent my pendidikan dokter at Manado, and I have servicing in the transmigrant area in North Sulawesi, and there are no place that need more than 2 hours to access the nearest puskesmas. How can in Jawa Barat is still there, still exists a place like that? Thank you.
Thank you. I think we will wait for other questions first, yeah. Please.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This is moderator. Please, I will comment with speak Indonesian for my brother, Mr. Martunis. Thank you.
Sure.
Saya ingin bertanya untuk saudara saya, Bapak Martunis. Kebetulan kami adalah sama-sama tertarik dengan masalah pasung, dan saya kira kita punya mimpi yang sama. Mudah-mudahan di 2014 tidak ada lagi manusia yang tidak memanusiakan manusia, dan mudah-mudahan keadilan itu datang untuk kita seluruh Indonesia. Freedom for pasien pasung, bebas untuk pasien pasung. Cuman mimpi ini ada sedikit ganjalan di hati saya, di pemikiran kita, ketika nanti pasien pasung itu dibawa ke rumah sakit jiwa, diobati, kita rawat dengan baik. Namun di rumah sakit itu kan bukan tempat penitipan. Tentunya ada batas waktu yang mohon ditranslatekan ya. Tentunya ada batas waktu. Apa tindakan atau apa rencana tindak lanjut setelah itu? Setelah dia sembuh, dibawa pulang ke rumah gitu. Setelah itu apa gitu? Obat atau kebijakan pemerintah saya kira belum ada untuk ini. Apakah kita harus juga menelantarkan juga di jalan-jalan seperti itu? Apakah di penelitian ini, di penelitian Bapak Martunis, ada sedikit saran untuk kami, untuk kita praktisi, mudah-mudahan praktisi maksudnya untuk khusus pasung. Kebetulan saya, mohon maaf, saya Arif, saya dari Lombok. Kebetulan saya di rumah sakit jiwa juga, dan tiap hari menggeluti ini. Saya hampir 2 tahun ini 100 pasien kami bebaskan, untuk 100 pasien pasung di NTB kami bebaskan, dan itu kami cari sampai di pelosok-pelosok daerah. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih. Is there any other questions or comment? Yes, please.
Me?
Yes.
Oh my God. Sorry, hi. Okay. Ya, terima kasih. Saya Rohmah.
Saya mau bertanya kepada Bu Fatwa tentang maintaining balance and harmony Japanese perception of heart and cardiovascular disease. I read from the mass media that 70% low income population allocation their budget to buy cigarette. What is the reason of the person buy cigarette from your analysis? And then I want to saya mau ini mau sharing ya tentang second hand smoker tadi ya. Untuk saya pernah mencoba untuk saya ingin melindungi diri saya sebagai second hand smoker. Ketika saya bertemu I meet the smoker in the restaurant, I say, sorry sir, can you put off the cigarette? Saya bilang sama dia, maaf Pak, bisa Anda matikan rokok Anda gitu untuk melindungi diri kita sendiri. Dan ternyata itu lebih membuat mereka sadar, oh ya ternyata saya sudah mengganggu seseorang, dan akhirnya mereka mematikan rokok mereka. Nah itu sharing saya untuk melindungi diri kita sendiri, melindungi kita dari ancaman asap rokok. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mbak Rahma. Okay. So being assertive is important to smokers, yeah. I would like to invite Mbak Yuli for the questions. Yeah. About the 3 hours by, I think, walking or by transportation from the health center.
Okay, thank you for the question. Pak Yosef, I will answer from here. I think we were there and it did like that. If you ask me how can it be, I don't know the answer, but the place is like that. And maybe I can explain you from the geographical condition that the place is such a lot of highly mountainous areas, and you can see in my poster that the road condition is very bad, and the transportation is only public transportation only available until 3 or 5 p.m. in the afternoon. After that, no public transportation. And other factor again that the poverty also has the role there, that people, they don't have their own vehicle. They will prefer homebird with TBA. Yes, some place maybe it's close with the healthcare facilities or primary healthcare facilities like Puskesmas, but there are a lot places or a lot houses that's far away from the Puskesmas. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think the geographical disparity is still here actually, not only in outside Java but also in Java. Okay, second question for Pak Martunis.
Thank you, brother. Shall I translate his question, or I think it's okay? You don't need any more because the foreigner is out. He was asking suggestion what should be done after releasing them. Okay, and because they have start program releasing it more than 100, you say that? Okay, and they have done, because it starts actually the Bebas Pasung is a Pasung free start only in Aceh. At the beginning, we are the one who started in 2010, and afterwards the national government, the central government in Indonesia, declared that by 2014 we need to have free Pasung, but it's not really working. Yeah, only some province in Indonesia which has a really good progress on this, including like NTB, if I've heard, and then also Jawa Tengah and Bali. Bali, I'm not sure, but they have a lot of cases like this in Bali, and also some other province in Indonesia. There are some progress, but a lot of challenges. So he asked me for the suggestion what to be done after releasing them, after taking them to hospital. Okay. what I can suggest, because I'm not directly working. I'm not a government officer. Saya bukan PNS. I'm just a researcher, and my base is not Indonesia. As you see in my I'm still working in researching in Berlin, and only when I have time like now. Actually, the reason going home is for Idul Adha, but I use the opportunity to do research and meet friends. And what you can do first is you have to ensure your government that they will issue a policy or decree or whatever that you can work with them. That's the most important thing. Why? Without that, you cannot work. Okay, you have to ensure what we learned, that policy advocacy. You should talk to your governor or whatever you have there, to those PHO, that this is not only releasing from PASUM. We need to do something after that, right? And that's need policy. PASUM policy only is not enough. Okay, that first. The second thing what you need to do is to ensure that you have a good community-based system. Because you cannot work alone in the hospital. I know, because my roommate is working in the hospital, in a psychiatric hospital, I mean. And they are fed up because in our hospital alone we have like 350 beds, but we have like 700 patients. So you might ask where they sleep during the night. Yeah, and I'm doing study now. Like why? Because in abroad, in the developed country, most of psychiatric patients have obesity. This is also NCD. But in Indonesia, most of them are undernutrition. Pastikan mereka punya akses ke obat. Jangan cuma ada obat di puskesmas. Pastikan pasien dapat obat dan mengerti bagaimana cara minum obat. Ada yang 5 bang benar tuh ya. Ajarkan ke pasien, ajarkan ke keluarga. Yang paling penting sebenarnya keluarga di sini. It's okay, so I speak my own language. Okay, I will explain you later. So